at our new institute is a course on greatness. And our starting point is that every human being is a genius waiting to happen. Greatness is something that's not just in some of us, it's really in all of us. And greatness is different to education. Firstly, education is fundamental. Education is something we should be giving to every single person in this country growing up. It's a human right, and it's a travesty that 6 million unemployed youth are uneducated in this country. Yet we must give them education, and more than education, we need to develop in all of us greatness. Greatness is how we care for ourselves and how we care for others. Greatness is how much we believe we're capable of. Greatness is about trying and trying and trying again, no matter how many times we fall over, and taking risks. Greatness is about forgiveness. Greatness is about all of us seeing our vulnerability and seeing the humanness in others. Greatness is our yearning for a vision of the impossible and the achievement of the impossible. Greatness is about our human ability for alchemy, to take one thing and to turn it into something else unimaginable. To take a situation that is broken and to turn it into something magical, like our Truth and Reconciliation Commission. There's really no problem that greatness cannot solve. And that's my starting point, is that as human beings, there is no problem that we cannot solve if we're prepared to think beyond our normal day-to-day thinking processes. So if we think about ending poverty in this generation and creating the country that we want, the first thing I just wanted to mention from the great Albert Einstein is a quote that I never really understood when I first heard it. And Einstein said this, he said, the most important decision that you ever make in your life is the following. Everything is a miracle, or nothing is a miracle, and it's your choice. So I think the key thing for us to think about is, in a way, a very, very small percentage of our population create all the wealth for everybody else. We have a tiny percentage of graduates in this country who've gone through higher education. It's only about 7% in the last census of the population over the age of 20. And yet that 7% of that population creates 65% of all the wealth in the country. So a very few people create a lot of wealth for everybody else. And in fact, South Africans are very charitable in the main. We're probably the most charitable, one of the most charitable nations in the world. But we're more charitable than we even think, because our tax that we pay every month, whatever our tax rate is, ultimately supports social welfare grants for 16 million people and many, many other things. Now, one has got to think, can those people ultimately put bread on the table for themselves and their own children and their own elderly? And of course, they would want to. So if we think about why this is happening, and when we come back to this idea of greatness, we so limit ourselves as human beings and what we're capable of, and we're so crowded by our own thinking of limitations. Education really is a ticket for people in one generation to come out of poverty. So now if we just think about the price of freedom in South Africa, and there's a wonderful quote that says, "I've seen the enemy and he is us." You know, when we were all fighting against apartheid and trying to create freedom in this country, there was a common enemy that we were all fighting against. And everyone was working towards some kind of goal that was higher and more noble. And we saw this in the World Cup. When we were fighting to pull off the World Cup and everybody doubted that we could do it, we pulled off what many commentators called the best World Cup in history. In school research, often what's found is the best indicator of whether a school's going to be successful is the level and expectations set by the professor, by the principal of the school. Madiba said, like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural. It is man-made and it can be overcome and eradicated by the actions of human beings. So our education system that currently, out of 100 kids that starts grade 1, will only produce about 1 to 3 graduates out of those 100, is broken, and we have to fundamentally rethink it. There is no way we can build this country without holding hands together. And Churchill had this concept of how it's impossible for a human being to be happy without helping others. We're all completely interconnected in society. When any of us suffer, everyone suffers. I saw this working in the townships. It's not possible when so many people are unemployed and don't have money for anyone to really be wealthy because people don't have money to buy products from each other. Everyone with a proper attitude in this country deserves to get ahead. And if somebody could develop a true attitude test, people who really, really want to study, really want to go to school, really have the opportunity, those are the people we should be rewarding and working with in society. Our opportunity for the free, great, prosperous country that we want is always there. The only problem is the little things, the little lights that get in the way, that are all we think about and all we put our attention on. The choice we want to make is how could we put 100,000 impoverished youth in this country through university? If we could create these universities that are self-funding, which we're working on now, it would ultimately put 650 billion rand, nearly R1 trillion into the poorest families in this country, and allow people to have their own dignity of labor through their own brains and their own hearts. And so this is the opportunity before us. We are confronted with these unsurmountable opportunities. Are we going to see the stars, or are we going to be caught in the little lights, the little problems, the little issues, the quibbles in the ANC and other things facing us, or are we going to get down to the real work of nation building in South Africa?